letting people come in. Thank you for joining us. You see, today I am all dolled up and pretty, and I did that just for this Zoom. I'm lying. I'm supposed to be at a birthday party, and I went and dropped everybody off, and I told everybody I'd be back. I gotta go to the bathroom, but I'm really hanging out with you all, right? So we're gonna rock out. We're gonna rock out for the next hour or so. And this is gonna be a good one. So here's the thing: if you guys have any questions or anything like that, definitely start to think of them. Today's show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna jump in with going straight to the point of what we're looking to go after here. So this is good. Let me get things situated on here. Get us all pushing. Maybe good to go. Let some more people into the chat. And so far, we have, of course, Mr. Edward Scissorhand is what I call him. It's a beast with the sheets. Is one of our underwriters on our team. We have my guy Ryan, who is, I call one of the originators, none greater, also an amazing underwriter, and is a beast when it comes to asset management, property management. So these are definitely individuals you want to make sure you have on your team. You want to have your version of that. And I'm actually going to break that down a little bit as we kind of let people in and warm up and stuff like that. And then we have Miss Jennifer, who's also here with us tonight, who legit is coming off of the heels of a 10X event, super event that took place over in it was in Miami or Orlando? Is Miami? I saw your mouth. I saw you mouth it with your lips.
I threw my mute on because I was making noise on my desk.
Nah, no problem. No problem. Was there anybody else that's here that went out to the event, this past event with Grant Cardone? If you did, let me see you talk about it. Put it in the chat if you were there. And if you did go, what did you learn, right? Give us one tip, one thing that you got from the chat that you were like, I'm sorry, put it in the chat, but that you got from the event that was like worth going. Hey, next time, no one should miss this. Like you all need to be here. Yes, this is on live. Got some people over on YouTube and Facebook and like, yo, is this live? This is live. We are live and direct here, kicking it with you all. All right, boom. So I'm looking at the good people on there. All right, so we're gonna get started here in just a few minutes. All right. So Valentina said, "How am I in Miami and I don't hear these events?" That's a great question. I don't know. You definitely should have been there, right? They probably caused traffic for you, and you were sitting there like, "Why is Miami full of people today?" And it was because of the 10X event. So obviously you missed it. Nothing you can do about that, but you can make sure you are preparing yourself. And this is for everyone. Listen, if you are looking to get into this space, you have to surround yourself around the individuals that are playing at this level and playing at all types of level, right? And so when you have a person like Grant Cardone that comes out, Grant is able to grab, people who are, people who are like doing it at the level that he's at, and also people who all the way down to just getting started, right? And so you want to make sure you can get to events like that because it's beneficial. It's going to help you out tremendously to make those type of connections that's there, right? The other thing too, like, let's be honest, right? If I don't know if you guys are doing outreach, if you aren't, you should. But if you're outreaching to people and you're connecting with individuals and you go to like LinkedIn, for example, not everybody's going to respond, right? Some people will see it and don't respond. Some people won't even see it. But when you're at an event, right? Like we right there, I'm face to face. I can connect and reach out and touch and communicate and exchange contact information, become memorable, right? And Jennifer was there, soaking up as much as she can and bringing it back to the team. So definitely appreciate you. In fact, Jennifer, I also wanted to make sure people knew um, of what email they can send things to if they had like a question or if they wanted to, work with us a little bit closely. How can they do that? Could you put that in the chat for everyone and just kind of sprinkle that in as we move along for the night? So let's get cooking. I wanted to ask, does anyone here have first any questions that we can jump in on? I want to make sure I get the questions out of the way because I want to spend the rest of the time truly going over the napkin underwriting deals. All right. If it's okay with you guys, I just want to go through deals. All right. I will make an announcement here. Jennifer just put the email address in the chat. So if you guys are looking at the chat, definitely grab that email address. And if you're online with us, I'll put it in one of the captions so you guys can be able to know how to reach out to us. You want to send it to this email address. It's info@elevatedcapitalinvestments.com. That's info@elevatedcapitalinvestments.com. So if you guys are paying attention to what we got going on, the value that we're giving, you see that on Mondays, we were doing broker talks. It's at 2 p.m. It's going to be every Monday. And then you see on Wednesdays, like tonight, we do Please Use Your Napkin, right? And that's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Now, once January 1st hits, we are going to have some changes in our schedule, right? We're going to add a new call or new Zoom that we'll be doing live, and that's going to be on Sundays. And I'm trying to make sure we can schedule it out correctly, but more than likely that'll be probably around 7 o'clock on Sundays. And it'll just be for an hour. It's not going to be, like get ready for a 6 hour version of anything. It's going to be 1 hour where we're going to go over question and answers. We'll do comping. We'll talk multifamily. We'll talk single family. Is this everything real estate? And we'll do that on Sundays. That's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern time. On Mondays, we'll still do broker talks. That'll be at 2 p.m. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to move the napkin underwriting to Tuesdays at 8 p.m. So that's going to be the change that's taking place. And why it's taking place is because we want to make sure that on Monday, we hook you up. On Sunday, we hook you up. Your mindset is straight. You know what I mean? You're ready to start the day on Monday and get to it. On Monday, you talk to the broker, you get a possible deal. And on Tuesday, you do your napkin underwriting once the broker sends you all the information. So we kind of want to keep feeding you the steps that you need to progress. All right. And the goal here ultimately is to make sure each and every one of you are able to accomplish your goal of getting a deal done. All right. That should be the goal that everybody has on their mind. How do I get my first deal? All right. And I do want to kind of go over just a couple of things here. If you are focused on multifamily space, you want to make sure you are doing just one thing only. And that one thing should be you focus in on one area. Now, this is going to be tricky because I know a lot of you are looking for properties nationwide. And I'm telling you now, that is not the way you want to go about it because you can't focus enough if you're doing this by yourself. Now, if you have a team, maybe you can take on two, depending on how big your team is, you can take on three, but that's it. You have to choose markets that will make sense for you, make sense for your investor that is bringing in the capital. And you also need to know what kind of investor that you're trying to reach out to. So again, this is stuff we'll go in deeper contact in on our Sunday calls, your mindset and setting you up to start your week I'm looking forward to doing that with you guys. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I coming in clear? If you're on YouTube or Facebook or you're on, I know my stream is telling me thumbs up. Love it. Let's get this thing started. Jennifer put from 10x, how to determine a price. Perfect segue because we're about to get into our underwriting. So let me share my screen really fast just so I can kind of go over, so like a recap for everybody. So if you're just joining us, all right, here we go. Here's the beautiful napkin that you guys are all aware of. You've seen, you love it. You're like, this is awesome. All right, so here's the napkin, and let me all right, so I have to, so if you're watching the stream, I'm gonna fix some things so that you guys could be able to see what everybody else is seeing as well. But in the meantime, let me get this show on the road. So we're just gonna do a quick overview. Now my napkin is a little bit different because I have just a couple of things that I added into it that you guys didn't have from last week. So this is the property we were just looking at, and I was underwriting. And you can just clear this off, right? So what you want to do is you want to take your property that you're looking at, and you want to type it in right there, right? So that's where the property goes, and then I'm gonna quickly go over all of these. Now, in order to get a true understanding of your napkin, right? And just to give some insight, we are working on another version of this. Shout out to my guy. I see you, bro. See you, baby. We are working on another version of this so that um, let me start over. Let me explain to you this way. In multifamily, you have different processes, right? Like different stages a deal will go through. One of the beginning stages that you go through is underwriting. In the underwriting stage, there's technically different levels of underwriting. You have a napkin underwriting, which would be level one. Now, our napkin is different from a traditional regular napkin underwriting. Okay. The napkin that you see before you is a napkin that has a lot more detail than someone's traditional napkin that you would get to quickly figure out what you should be at as far as price wise. The reason why we did that is because if you are here, if you're looking to learn, then you should be learning, right? You need to be able to understand what are these numbers that I'm looking at and why am I looking at them? Where do I find them? On the T12, okay, I got the T12. Now what do I do? Where are they? Like that's what we're going to do. And that's how we're going to push around and make sure that you guys understand it. So this is why our napkin looks like this. Now we are coming out with another version, working with another member of our team named Kyle, that will be very, very simple, extremely simple, streamlined. It may even look like a form, right? Where you can literally just come in, type in the number, and then that's it. So we're gonna have two different versions. Now, why are we doing two different versions? Is because some people don't care to do all this. Like, if we can be honest, right? If you're in the chat, raise your hand if you're like, man, I really don't give two. I need you to tell me if this is a deal or not. Right? Like that's all I really care about. Is this a deal? Because if it's a deal, I'm gonna go find somebody who wants to do this deal with me. If it's not a deal, I'm gonna throw it away and go find the next one. Right? So we can make a napkin even more simple. So I guess what you would call it is, you know how like I don't know if you guys remember when you used to go to like eat like fast food, they used to give you like the little it's like a little pouch where you can rip it open. It's like a wet napkin, like a toilet, I think is what they used to call it. So that's like a so we got a wet napkin for you, and then we have your napkin. All right. So regardless, because I know some people were reaching out and they're like, listen, I really want to learn this thing, but I'll be honest, it's intimidating. And I didn't want to say nothing during the live because everybody was talking about how this was like the easy napkin, right? It was like the first step, and I'm like, golly, if this is the first step, step two, I'm out of there, right? So here's the thing: we heard you loud and clear, and we will make sure that you get both versions so that you can utilize this. And I'll go through it. And now here's the thing for those of you who are asking, and is this the same for multifamily and single family? No, this is totally different. So when we are doing any Zoom on multifamily, I want you to take out all the knowledge you have about single family, take it out your head and put it to the side. And we're going to download new information for your multifamily brain. So you'll be able to do this, right? Sooner or later. I know I look extremely silly right now, but it's okay. The people who are visual thank me for it already. All right. So this is what we're going to do. We'll have the two different napkins. And as you are, I'll be honest, if I see you are using this napkin, you're sending us deals, you're showing us that, hey, look, I'm serious about this. We will set some time aside with you to take you to the next level of napkin underwriting and show you how to get it from this to an even deeper level. Now, this is extremely powerful for you. You're not gonna have to pay us for that. We want to teach you that, right? We want to get your skills to become better. And the reason why I want you guys to also know how to do that is because if you're doing that, right, essentially what ends up happening is you now learn how to become a better underwriter. Can you master underwriting in 30 days? Absolutely not. You can become decent in 6 months. But I mean, these guys will tell you now, even themselves, they're still learning every day, right? Like I was on an underwriting Zoom earlier today, just learning how to underwrite more and more and more, right? So it's all about putting in the work. And if we see you putting in the work, we will pull you in and say, here, look, let me show you how to take it to the next level. So now when you guys are the reason why we're doing this, so everybody understands the ultimate goal. The reason why we're doing this is because when you underwrite and you send somebody a deal, you should be sending a person a deal with a whole business plan attached. You should be able to take a deal that you got from a broker or from a mom and pop situation, underwrite it, napkin, take it through all the phase. Here's how we take it over. Here's how we can make money. Here's the exit strategy, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what you should be presenting to someone who has the capital and the resources and the team and the credibility and the backing and et cetera. Okay, I want to make that clear because a lot of us right now think the way that you JV with somebody in the multifamily space is by going to www.mail.google.com and you hit copy from the one email, paste into the new email, and then send. And you're like, hey, if it's a deal, let me know. We can JV on it. I'll be 1,000% honest with you guys. No one is going to JV with you because you sent an email. It is not going to happen. And if you are the individuals that are putting 3%, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this plus 3%, and like, let's see if we can do business. I'll tell you right now, nobody that has 3% is getting paid. If you put plus 3%, you're definitely not getting paid on there. Edward, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's a perfect segue into what I was thinking. What's up, everyone? Good seeing you guys. This is the longest I've probably stayed quiet on the intro of a Zoom, so props to me. So let me jump on that point real quick. And someone actually just commented 3% is outrageous. Yes and no, and I agree with everything that he said. But here's the problem: people click forward and then say I want 3%. And it's funny now more than ever. And a lot of people who've interacted with me in the past few weeks will hear me say this. I've gotten the same deal, the same format, the same information, the same Excel spreadsheets, and the same typo, which is a massive pet peeve of mine. Like, I'll see a capital letter instead of like a period, like, or like it's supposed to be an A and it's a C, and that drives me crazy because not only did you click forward, but you didn't even proofread it to correct it. So I will see 3 different C's on it. One of them says buyer's fee, the other one says 2%, the other one says 3%, the other one says 4%. Doesn't make one any more right than the other, to be honest. The 2% might be the last guy who got it, and he's just trying to go around the guy who sent it to me for 3%. You know what I mean? So just because it's lower doesn't mean it's more correct. But the point I wanted to make with all this being said is, the best analogy I can make, because this is something that we've all experienced a million times. If I go to a restaurant and everything's phenomenal, and I love the server, and they're fun, they're funny, we're having a good time, they're taking. There's a restaurant in my city that I go to with my buddies. Nicest steakhouse, very expensive. It can be very expensive. The way my friends order is pretty expensive, depending on what you order. And there's a restaurant in my city. The guy that is there that has served our table is not there. We won't go. We won't go. I don't care what occasion it is. It could be a birthday. It could be it could be the greatest event we've ever tried to celebrate. We won't go. If that one person is not there, we won't eat there, because he makes it fun for us. He knows all of our orders and remembers everything we eat and drink, even if it was 6 months ago. And we always tip him a lot more than we would anyone else I've ever tipped in my life. And our meals are not cheap either, so the percentage is heavily weighed. Now, why do we do that? Because he makes us feel at home. We are there after the closing, having fun, having a good time. We enjoy it. Like, he makes it fun for us. That's the best comparison I can make. You go to a restaurant and someone treats you bad service, you don't like it. The food doesn't have to be good. I don't care about the food. At the end of the day, if the person there makes you feel like, okay, I enjoyed this experience, you're gonna take care of them. Same thing with this. If you make my life easy, I'll pay 3% if you negotiate the deal. I don't have to ask for additional information. You went out of your way to find out if creative works. You went out of your way to the broker or seller, if you're direct to seller, hey, I need this, this, and this. If you do the legwork, if you find out all the X's and O's, the rehab, any issues, inspection reports set up, and all of that, then you do deserve 3%. But if you just click forward, you're not getting 3%. I don't care what happens, it's the effort you put in will reflect the fee. And I think that's a misconception, because at least in the single family space, 3% doesn't sound like a lot. 1% difference isn't a lot. When you're talking about a $50 million property, I've seen people try to retire on one deal. I'm like, go buy a lottery ticket. Like, do the legwork. Exactly. Daniel said it. You got to do the legwork.
Yep.
Easy to say, oh, they got this, right? Like, I'm looking at the same stuff you are, and that's why we do these Zooms, so you know what to look for. Like Jennifer saying, doesn't like math. Maybe math's not your subject. You don't like Excel. You don't have to know any of that stuff. The current average rent is. We just show you, like, hey, this is how you figure that out. You just need to know what that number is. And no matter where you plug into the multifamily equation or machine, as we like to call it, you have to know this stuff. If you're raising capital, you have to understand what are the questions my investors are going to want to know. If they ask you what the current average rent is, you're like, I don't know. They're like, what do you know about this deal? You have to have a grasp on what you're trying to pitch.
Well, not just the what do you know about the deal, right? Like you want to. So all right. So I know a lot of us come from the single family space. So really quick, let me just make this so that you guys can get this understanding, right? Could you imagine if you sent someone a deal, a single family deal that you have on a contract, and you're like, hey, here's the deal. And I ask you a question like, okay, well, how soon is the seller looking to leave? And you're like, I don't know. Okay. Can you tell me like why they're trying to sell, or do you know anything? No, I don't know. What do you know? Oh, wait, I just sent the email. I thought I know it was a deal that you like. It's in your market. It's like, dude, you're making me work twice as hard. Like, so the point we're trying to prove here is make it so that you're worthy of being part of someone's team. In multifamily, it's extremely important. In single family, make it so that you're making the other person's job that's buying the property simply too easy, right? They just love when you send them an email. Sign the check. Here you go. You took care of everything for me. I love it. In multifamily, you can't take care of everything, but what you can do is make sure that I have everything that I need so I can give it to my team. And the more you continue to give value in that manner, the more I want you to be part of my team. And now you've put yourself in a position to win. So with that being said, here, really quick, this is what I want to show you guys. And I want Ed to come in and we'll start underwriting deals. Again, if you have a deal, make sure that you let us know, raise your hand. We'll pop you up here. We don't need the address. Just give us all the other details. All right. So when you are filling out your napkin, I want you guys to know something. Anything you see that's dark highlight like this, we can't do nothing if we don't have that. Period. Right? Like nothing is going to happen if we don't have these things. If you have those things, we can at least give you the bare bones. So this is the bare bones. You see what the upside would be. You see what the price per unit should be. You see what the maximum allowable offer is. So they wanted 12 mil, they way off. It should be at like 8.5. Okay. Also, I want to say that so I can make sure that we're clear. Just because it's multifamily, do not think for 1 second if a person says, hey, yeah, we selling this property for 35 million, that you should pay them 35 million. It is still negotiation. It's still the same thing. I'll make it bigger. 1 second. Let me get my big head out the way. Let's make this bigger.
While you're doing that, real quick, I want to explain this too. Just because they're offering 12 million and the value says 8.5, and he sent me this deal, I know exactly which ones he's talking about. And I told him this exactly. I'm like, I agree, but is there an assumable loan? That changes everything.
So with that, right? So all right. If you want to see if this is something that could work, all you really got to do is see if this turns green for you. And if this turns green, then you know it's a win-win. That's before you put in any of this other information, and I'm gonna get to. So if you come here, what I would tell you to do is fill out these things here, see if this is a green and if this is a green. Now, if this is not a green, that's what Ed is just talking about. Edward is saying, what if it's an assumable loan? This doesn't necessarily have to become green. Basically saying what our maximum allowable offer is could possibly be lower than what they're asking, because if it's an assumable loan, ding, 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 we can offer creative terms. So how do you know if it's assumable or not? You fill out the rest of this information. So if you fill this out, you fill this out, and then once you do, even if this is red, you can hit submit form and it'll pop this up. Once that pops up, it'll take you here and you just fill out the information, right? The most important thing you want to do when you fill out the information is take a screenshot of this form. Please don't ask me, how do you take a screenshot? Look it up on Google, all right? Take a screenshot of the form and also add it in here. And what's going to happen is, and you see your information is in here too, your name, phone number. What's going to happen is within 24 to 48 hours, either Ed, Ryan, not Nathaniel, Hunter, Kyle, they will underwrite the deal and get back in contact with you and go over the napkin and what the next steps should be for this deal that you got. Okay, so I say that because in here you see it says if the value add is green and the submission is green, then you're good to go. But I'm telling you, if this turn red and there's an assumable loan, you can still send this. If this turns red and there's no assumable loan or seller carry, then there's no need to sell it. No need to send it, because essentially what that is saying is the seller wants too much and they're not willing to negotiate on anything regardless. So you shouldn't send that. It's not a deal. All right. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that makes sense before I let Ed just start running through and giving us some deals right here. If that makes sense, put some charger plugs in the chat for me. That's my new thing. I'm not doing fires and flames. I'm not doing peace signs, even though I like the peace signs. Shout out to Pace and all that, right? It's my guy. If my hair wasn't so slick back today, I'll be wearing my my sub 2 hat. But We here. We get ready to elevate. If there's any questions, let us know. If not, Ed, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so you can share yours and take it away. Thank you. I'm starting to see the plug chats in the chat. Love it. All right, Ed, I'm gonna give you sharing capability.
Yeah.
All right, you good to go. All right, let's do it.
So I'm gonna be upfront with you guys. This is a deal I have not looked at. I have no information on it. I have no idea if it's a deal or not. But I'm gonna show you how easy it is, or if you want to practice, how easy it is to practice. The only thing I verified about this deal is that I have the ability to pull up the data, which obviously would make this very relevant if I couldn't. Now, so here we are in Dallas, right? You guys can see my screen, everything good?
Yep, looking good.
I clicked on the property, 5, 6, somewhere here, and I pulled up this 40 units for sale, right? I click the link at the bottom, property landing page, OM and deal room. You'll hear that often.
Now what?
Deal room is
Yeah, I was about to ask you, what is a deal room?
the deal room is essentially where they're gonna keep their documents. It's kind of like, hey, basically it's this. For lack of a better way, I can just show you. So this is their deal room. So they just have all their folders with all their files, interior, floor plan, financials, offering memorandum.
All right, okay? Got it.
Very straightforward. You have everything here, right? You click the OM, and now we have the OM, which should have everything we need, right? And I say should, because it probably won't. So be aware of that. If you can't find something, don't go scrambling and saying like, I don't know where it is, or it's not on here. Like at some point you just gotta be like, okay, it's not here. Either contact them directly if everything else checks out, or if it's vital information that you need to have, then you just call the broker. You know, that's why we do that Zoom as well with the broker outreach, because if you're just playing up an OM and not having that conversation with the broker, it's really hard to get anywhere with the deal.
Yeah.
Especially if there's information missing. You can ballpark it and you can be like, oh, but I have this. And like, okay, cool, you have most of the info, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to have that conversation with the broker. Now, whether it's before you send it to us or after, that conversation is gonna happen. Okay, so we know it's 40 units. One thing to look out for, and this is something to keep in mind too, especially where knowing your market's important, and I think this is kind of overlooked, because there was a property we're looking at that I was hesitant on because of this. The average size per unit, you guys have to realize that's pretty important when it comes down to the unit mix. Just because it says 1 in 1, as you can see, doesn't mean it's the same thing. That's a big difference. So from 450 to 595, 30% increase. I did my math wrong. If I did my math right. And you can see the average rents may not seem like a lot, but you want to factor that in, like, okay, if it's an area where you get a lot of, if you have like a building full of studios, like I saw one where they're all 230 square feet. I'm like, my bedroom is bigger than that. Like, that's hard to get tenants in. And you have to factor that in, or you have to know your demographic. It's to know your clientele. And that's really important, because if you can be in the biggest city in the best area, the numbers can look phenomenal, but if they're struggling with their vacancy percentage because the unit mix doesn't match the clientele, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna have to face the same reality that, hey, it's a characteristics of a building you can't change. I can't change if there's a freeway behind the building. It is what it is. Jennifer, that's a great point. Thank you for that comparison. 200 square feet a garage stall, which that's terrifying. That's your whole house. Wow. So be aware of that stuff. Now, is it a deal breaker? No, maybe it's a school, it's a college town, and they need studios because it's a bunch of students running around. All right, cool. Go damage and tear up the 200 square foot studio, whatever. That's fine. As long as their check clears and they have renter's insurance. Make sure your tenants have renter's insurance.
Very important.
Massive issue right now. But anyway, And then here you get the idea of what's around. Like I mentioned, like every OM is gonna have the city details. Um, nice visuals. I really don't know how to get rid of this part of it, which is a little annoying, but it's fine. I'll figure it out. Okay, that works. So now you have the growth potential rent, and this is exactly what we're talking about. So if you want to know the current rent, it's right here. So your historicals and your year one pro forma. These are all good to know because you want to know what it is today, but also you want to verify that number with your rent roll, which is important. And then you want to be able to see like, okay, what do they think it is going to be market rent, which is what pro forma is. Now, renovation income, what does that mean? A good OM will have that explanation. A bad OM is when you call the agent and ask. And there's one thing that I noticed on here that they don't have. I'm gonna ask to see if anyone gets it later. And then they do less vacancies, which 5%, very normal. So nothing looks weird yet. Total rental income, other rent income, utility reimbursement. This is good to know because you want to know if this is being done.
Now, what is RUBS?
So it's exactly what this line is explaining, utility reimbursement. And what that means is, so with most of the time with trash and water, there's one bill for the entire property. So if unit one is using water, or you can't really like divide it up for each of the units. All you can do is charge them all back a flat fee. Ideally, yeah, you want to charge back all of it. But to be kind of considerate of everyone, like, hey, some didn't use as much as others, all eat 15%. Yeah, that's great because there's a lot of buildings that eat 100% of the cost. Okay, so essentially what this is, quick snippet is how much you're charging back to the tenants for the water and trash that you're paying for up front. So you would essentially, starting January, let's say you take over the property owner, you pay the water bill that month. In February, you charge it back because you know the amount now. But in February, you're charging back for January. You're not guessing. Because one, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot if you get short. Two, you're being unfair to the tenant if you get too much. But if you know the amount, then simple math. And you're transparent, which is important. Don't lie to your tenants either. That's messed up. You always want to make sure management fee is there. Simple fact is, if it's not there, you have to factor it in. If it is there, does their number make sense, and are they a good management company? Are you going to keep them there? Like, you don't want to buy another person's headache without knowing the headache you're getting into. To make the single family comparison, you buy a house because you're either trying to wholesale it or it's a fix and flip. It needs work. But if you open the walls and it's a disaster, you kind of foresee that and you're like, okay, you're prepared for it. But you want to know as much as you can through inspections and all that different stuff. Same thing with this is you want to know what you're getting yourself into. Because this is a relationship that you might not be able to get out of right away. If they have a contract for 3 years, what are you going to do? You don't want to get into that mess. Insurance, taxes, you can't change anything. Utilities. Now, anytime this utility reimbursement is in the income, you want to make sure that the utilities is also being expensed. And vice versa. Why I say that is, if the utilities are being reimbursed, but they're not being charged, they're essentially double dipping.
So so there's a question in here, and I'll jump in on that one. I also sent you a message, Ed. Is there a typical percentage used for management?
Depends the size of the building. You can go anywhere from about 5 to 10%. If it's a really large building and it's like a better condition, like higher class, you might be able to get away with 2 to 3 if it's like super high end because of the size, but also because like once your income, think of it like a wholesale fee. Once you get to those high millions, for example, and especially in multifamily, your fee decreases. Why? Because that number is so much more significant. Same thing with the management fee. I'm not going to pay a management fee $1 million a year just because my property is worth so much. No, it doesn't work like that. Um,
And I mean, 5% of a large number is actually a lot, right? So you definitely make through. And guys, Nathaniel is also another team member who is extremely skilled and has been doing this for some time on the acquisition side as well, syndication. So if he's in the chat, he's answering questions. So if he answers it, for sure he knows. I see Tracy's in here. Tracy knows a bunch of stuff as well. So yeah, let's keep going. Ed, you know what I think would be good is while you're going through that, since we're gonna go till 9, while you're going through that, let's actually fill out the spreadsheet, right? So that way people could be following along. They can fill out the spreadsheet and kind of make it work at the same time.
so one thing I can do that, but one thing I also want to do, not this call, but one of the calls, is and be prepared because I'm not going to tell you guys when it's happening. I want someone to come in with their own deal, and they're gonna end up doing it themselves on here because I think that's a good way to get hands on. That's one thing that I want you guys to prepare. Like these calls are great because we're gonna answer questions. We're gonna kind of show you how we look at things. But at the end of the day, the best way to get this to do this and um,
Just doing it. Just gotta do it. Now, really quick, I wanna while he's starting to put in some of the details, I wanna answer a question, or I actually wanna just say something here. So Jennifer had was answering a question. Somebody asked about like, what about basically if a property was previously sold, right? So I want to just educate you guys so that you guys can start understanding the language change that you need to make so that when you're talking to brokers, they already know you play this game because you do, right? So you want to make sure that you're speaking the same way. So brokers don't say something that was already sold. If you're operating at a high level, they'll understand and they'll know because you're saying words like traded. So multifamily doesn't necessarily get sold, it gets traded. Whether it was sold or brought, they would say, when was the last time it was traded? All right. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so we see Ed putting in some numbers. Now, Ed, did you already put numbers in the blue cells, or what are those numbers there?
so I was gonna just wait for you to finish. I can explain it.
Okay, go ahead.
So talk about gross potential rent, right? This is really annoying, but it's fine. So gross potential rent, you have the 420, 824. So that's what the historicals are. So all I did was divide that by 12 to get my monthly. And they also, or when they give you the per unit annually, you just divide that by the unit count.
All right, so did you guys get that?
Months. So all you want to do is you want to find out how much it is per unit per month off of your total rental income.
All right, so that's how you got the first two. Now, how did you come up with the CapEx rehab budget?
I haven't gotten that yet, but I'll also explain that too. So obviously it's really important with that one to know, and that's a big part that you really need to either A, know the market, or B, know talk to the broker. Like, hey, what has the seller done up to this point? Because the one thing that sellers are really gonna, or brokers are really gonna try to harp on is sellers spent X dollar amount in capex, which is your rehab budget or rehab. They're like, we spent this much. All right, cool. What did you spend it on? Tell me more. So as much as they try to like use that as a pitch, question them on it. Because now what you're gonna do is use that number. Cool. Who are the people that did this job?
Mm-hmm.
They've already done the work on the units. No one knows the building better than they do at that point. They're gonna know it better than the owner and the broker. They've done the work. Imagine if you did a flip and you had your broker trying to answer questions about the flip. Your general contractor is gonna know more than you are. They know what inside the walls look like. So imagine the same thing with this, but it's multiple units. You're like, all right, cool. So I have a budget now because I know what was already done to the property. Now, if you don't have a budget because they haven't done anything, then it's just learning the area. You call property managers, you call the general contractors, you call whoever you need to call just to get a budget. But let's say you don't do any of that. If they tell me heavy rehab, like it looks old and looks dated, the same way you would look at it on a single family. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of a higher number per unit, with maybe 10,000. Or I look at it, I'm like, okay, that's nice. It's okay. It's in decent condition. Okay, maybe I only need 5,000. You use your best judgment, but always estimate high.
All right.
Because you don't know how old the roof is. You don't know how old the AC units are. You don't know how old, depending the location, if they have boiler or heater or whatever the water situation is. When you don't know all that information, you want to budget high. And then in addition to that, my last point to the rehab budget is this is all stuff you're gonna find out during due diligence. And I don't want you to assume that like just because we get a property locked up and it's an escrow that there isn't more negotiation. And I don't want it to put the perception out there of every deal I put into escrow I'm gonna renegotiate. No, but if any new information is brought to the table, you're gonna renegotiate it.
Right.
One of my mentors, one thing they always say is they will drill this into us is as soon as they get into escrow, their job is to kill the deal. So we did everything before escrow to say why we should buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we open escrow, we're doing everything we can to try to kill it.
Yep.
If it means the location's bad, that's a good enough reason. If it means there's additional issues that don't justify the price, that's a good enough reason. And once you do that, if it passes those tests and you check mark everything, and you're good to go, then why aren't we buying it? It should be that obvious.
Yep. Yeah. And very good point. Very good point.
$300,000 mistake, you lose $30,000. Okay, cool. What happens when you make a $30 million mistake with other people's $3 million? Not so cool. Your first deal could be your last.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So that's Cap X. So how many units was this? You said it was 40?
40.
All right. Cool. So we got that in. Occupancy rate. Where'd you find that from?
So that one I actually haven't entered in yet either. But I can find that out. It's not here. Well, I haven't gotten low enough yet, but let me show you guys. There's a few places you can find that out. One is hopefully the OM, and I say hopefully. Let's make that full screen. But I'm probably not going to.
Now this is why we look for the OM. Like it's being talked about in the chat. It's a marketing thing, which is great. But we want the T12. We want the rent rolls, right? We want the actual numbers because that's what you can get numbers that you're looking for that they might have conveniently left off of the OM. Wink, wink, right? Like if I'm trying to reel you in, I'm gonna put all the pretty stuff on there, right? And then I may or may not put it's only 50% occupied. Right, so it's one of those type of scenarios. So what do we got? There it is, right there. 92.5. There you go. And again, remember, if you can't find it anywhere, call the broker. Call them out. Like, hey, you sent me stuff that there's nothing on here. Like, can I get the rest of the stuff? We really trying to buy this. What are you doing?
That's a perfect segue. What is one thing? And I'm not going to pull up the Napkin Underwriting on purpose because it's not on there. What is one thing missing from this OM? Let's see how many people are paying attention. Because I'm done with my underwriting. Well, the Napkin part of it. Because of without calling the broker at least. I've filled out everything I can without calling the broker. What's missing?
I don't know. What's missing? Cap rate. Michelle says cap rate.
Nope.
Purchase price. Daryl says purchase price.
Bingo.
Purchase price 1. Daryl, you get a free Subway. Thank you for participating in tonight's event. Send an email over to Edward and he'll send over a coupon for that Subway sandwich. Purchase price.
I looked on the OM and I have no price. So now, if you sent me, or imagine you went through all that. You got all the information, your price is down here. You might have even forgotten about like, oh, I didn't even think to check if there's a price. And you're like, uh-oh, what do I do? Well, you can't make one up, obviously. But you need it. Like, that's one of the most important things you need. Now, I'm going to tell you guys all something because there's a good amount of you on here. Personally, and I'll be able to show you guys this on a higher, the elevated underwriting. I don't technically need a purchase price because I just need to know the price that works for me. Mm-hmm. But You're sending it through here. How do you know if this is red or green or not without the purchase price? You don't.
Right.
I personally can underwrite it without the purchase price, and I can eventually show you guys how I do that and why it's okay. But if I don't have a purchase price here, you don't like you want a ballpark.
Yeah.
And if anything, that should be enough reason to call the broker. So why is this also saying whisper price? Well, a seller will ask a broker, hey, don't, like, let's see what the market brings us. So they just want people to send them offers because every seller in their head has a price. Like, in multifamily, and I tell this is kind of like a phrase I like to throw around there, you don't stumble upon 40 units. You didn't wake up one day, bump your head, and own 40 units. It doesn't work like that. You put the work in, you understand what you're buying. And you're selling it for a reason. Whether it's a good or bad reason, there's a reason. And you have a number in mind. So why we ask what the whisper price is because the whisper price is something when you call the broker, you say, hey, I don't have an agent, their ears are going to perk up. Like, you think sellers, like brokers in the single family space, love double representing deals with the buyer and seller? Imagine when you're doing it on $13 million, $20 million, $30 million property. Their 1%, 1.5% commission doubles or even goes up 50, 60%. You made that broker's year. They'll tell you the price, the whisper price, which means don't tell anyone else, but this is what they're looking to get. Now, when you bring that information to us, it just happens that our offer is in that ballpark. So we don't have to offer more. We know what their floor is. Does that make sense? So in this scenario, the valuation is 5.5. But if they come and tell you the whisper price is 10, oops, missed one.
Missed 1-0.
Yeah. So then you know, okay, that's not going to work.
Now hold on. Let me ask you a question. How do I figure out what type of class building this is?
So a few factors actually, and that's a great question.
But you remember you gotta give me it in a short period of time.
Yeah. We'll be good by the time. So with the class is one, it's the condition property. That's very straightforward. Second, I would say is the location, the city. And a lot of ways to look at that is population. Like if you're in the $50,000 to $100,000 or 1,000 person population range, you in your mind you kind of know like, okay, my upside is so limited. It's unlikely you're gonna be an A property because you just don't have enough of the income and the people there, money there for the value to justify a price, you know. But if I'm in Dallas, I'm like, okay, a decent property could turn into an A, B plus A, essentially, with the right work and the right operators, right? Also, another thing that's good when networking with brokers is the cap rate, market cap rate. And sometimes on the OM, they'll tell you offering at this cap rate, or in the email blast, they'll say offering at this cap rate. And that's good to know. So that is going to affect your numbers.
So so you heard all the different things that he says that come into play with cap rate, which is what makes it so difficult when you ask one person like, what's the cap rate? I'm sorry, not the cap rate, what the class is. There's a lot of different things you can add. The best way to go about doing it is the age. Like what age is the property? If depending on the range of the time that it was built, it's going to give you the type of class property it would be, essentially. So when I say age, yep, Nathaniel, you got it. The year built, right? Luckily for you, if you scroll over on the napkin, it'll tell you exactly what class A is, class B is, and class C. So it makes it easier for you to choose what age this would be, what year it was built, and you know exactly what class. And again, for the cap rate, you can click on that link. But the easiest thing to do is, or the more precise thing to do is to get it from the broker. If not, then click on that link to be able to get an estimate of what the cap rate is by the city that you're building in. So again, make sure you find out what city it is. I had somebody send me a deal. They forgot to send me the address, right? Like I was able to underwrite it, but I need the cap rate to finish it off. So it was like, I don't know if this is a great deal or if this is a horrible deal because I don't know what the cap rate is. So definitely want to get that. All right, I give it right back to you, bro.
Yeah, give me 4 more minutes and then we'll start answering questions.
All right, you good.
Sorry,
They're knocking it back in the chat too, so you're good.
yeah. Perfect. Like, so this is all the information we just got from the OM. Now, we haven't dug into the financials. We haven't dug into the rent roll, the T12. Profit and loss is good to know as well. And so, for example, in this scenario, the OM, unless it's their selling point, that's very important to remember. The times that if they are over, like if you think a property is worth 7 million, they come at you and say I want 10 for it. The reason I say, and I was mentioning earlier with Eddie, was even if you have a big discrepancy in price and they're marketing their assumable loan, they know that's their selling point. I'm gonna say that again. If someone is marketing the assumable loan as a selling point, they know they're overpriced for what the property is worth. They just know that what the property is worth today is reflective of today's capital cost, which is your loan. If interest rates are higher, your purchase price will be lower. But if they're saying, hey, we can get you the same rate that everyone was drooling over a year ago at 3.5%, their valuation of the property goes up now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? You guys want to factor that in. And on the OM, I was able to fill out majority of this. The only thing I don't know is if the seller is going to have interest in seller financing. Most of the time, you're not going to without calling someone.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So, question: I heard the cap rate should be higher than the interest rate on the debt. Is that a factor?
It is a factor, which is why you'll see cap rates and properties selling for more now than they were previously, because the cap rate has to factor in the interest rate, but it also depends how much you're borrowing. So that's important to factor in too, because if I'm borrowing, let's say hypothetically, if I'm doing a traditional sale and I have to go out and get a traditional, like regular standard loan, and I'm doing everything without creative, then I'm borrowing 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And when anyone tells me they want skin in the game from the buyer, the skin is my sweat equity and time and reputation. I'm not using my own money. No one's using their own money. If you're using your own money to buy multifamily, one, you have a lot of money, or you're trying to get
Right.
Everyone in this group and chat and sub two is in it to scale. So you're borrowing 100%, whether it's from a bank, whether it's from seller carrier, whether it's from an investor that's bringing private equity.
Yeah. So basically, if you are doing, if you're looking for the cap rates, right, and you're diving deeper into like, is it higher than the interest rate and stuff like that? That's typically going to be like a level 2, level 3 underwriting. It's easier to just go straight into it. What's the current updated market cap rate of the city, and use that because that's typically already going to include the higher interest rates. They taking that into consideration.
So with the question James just put in, lenders who will lend 100%. What I meant by the 100% is it's 100% not your money, which means let's say the bank says I'm going to give you an LTV of 65%. Sweet. That means I have to go find 35% plus rehab through my private investors. So if it's $1 million and the bank says I'll give you 650, cool, I have to go find 350. Oh, it's going to cost me 200 rehab. I have to find 200 on top.
Yep. So Michelle said, if I have a 1966 year built that I've gone through a total rehab, would that property now be a class A? So I would tell you, it depends on what you mean when you say total rehab. Because in multifamily, I've seen people say total rehab, and what they did is a cosmetic facelift with all of the units, but the major components of the property hasn't been updated in that same year built of, whatever this total rehab was done. Now, if you're telling me that something was completely gutted out and they came in and put everything in new and et cetera, then I would consider that maybe a class A. Very similar to how you would look at single family in that regard, right? Like if you talk to a single family homeowner and they're like, hey, I did a rehab on this, and you get to the house and you be like, oh, You mean you change the knobs and you put in new light bulbs? Yeah, that doesn't classify as a rehab, right? So very similar situation.
Also, it's not only the rehab itself, it's the unit, it's your roof is a lot more expensive now. It's
Yeah.
bigger. Your foundation, very important. Your your pipe, your plumbing, very important. If a single family, one pipe bursts, it's affecting one household. What happens when a pipe bursts and it's affecting four people? Not so fun anymore, right? By the way, I'm done with napkin underwriting, so I made my time.
Yeah. Let's take a look at it. Just show the napkin, and I want to touch James' question. Shout out to James and I see James in here and oh, damn, Joshua. It's my guys. Listen, those guys are straight killers. If you guys ever see them doing anything, definitely jump on it. I love those guys. So James asked the question. I thought the quality of a tenant and market also yes. So the quality of the tenant and the market area determines the asset class. But again, if you are like, hey, I just need to know what class this is, the easiest rule of thumb will be the age or the year built of the property. Those other things are going to be factored into it as well, but for sure, that's probably going to be the easiest thing. If you're at the napkin underwriting stage, just go with the year built. That's going to be the easiest way to keep it in a safe box for you. When you start getting to the second, third levels, fourth levels of underwriting, then you can input some of the other information. And again, this whole thing is just to see, do we have a deal that has legs, right? Is this something that makes sense for us to devote some more time into it and figure out if this is something we want to bring to the team and dive in deeper? If it's not, then you don't want to take all your effort going in, putting in and grabbing all this detail, and 4 hours later you realize, damn, this ain't a deal. It's not how you want to spend your time.
And one more thing, guess who's your new best friend that you can call and ask? The broker. And
Yeah.
you know this. If you call them, they say, "Oh, it's like a B minus." You put C plus. Simple as that.
Yep.
You
Keep it
know, if
simple.
they tell you an A minus, you put B plus B. If they say B plus, okay, B minus C plus. You know, obviously take everything with a grain of salt, but it's like, hey, they're gonna tell you the absolute best case scenario, right? Because they want you to buy it. So if they're gonna tell you that, you know you shouldn't think it's higher than that day one.
Yep.
It's not going to. Right?
Yep. So let's take a look at this. So was somebody talking? Oh no, okay.
So I had a question saying, when you say yearbook built, can you break that down a little more?
Yeah, so just the year that the property was built.
And why we say that is, no matter how much a property is rehab, there's normal wear and tear, just the structure and the bones of it. You can't replace everything, and most people don't. So the year built is important in the sense of, you can tell walking through a new build that it's a new build. You can tell when you're walking through and it's a rehab. It's like a ground up construction is never going to look and feel the same as a property that's 50 years old. That's just the reality of it. No matter how you try to twist it and how good a contractor you are, that's why year build's important.
Yep.
I hope that answers your question, because I'm not sure exactly what your question was, but that's kind of the ballpark.
Yeah. So if you scroll over, hold on, let me get it for you. So if you scroll over that 45% for Class A, sorry, to the right, to the right. Keep going. There you go. So right there, you'll see a little quick summary of like the different year builds.
10 years, 10 to 20 years, 20 plus years. Now, that is obviously depending on the condition of the property. I've seen properties built yesterday that looks like they were built 100 years ago. I've seen properties built 100 years ago that look like they were built yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to factor that in, because, guys, I'm going to be honest, don't get too crazy caught up in the class.
Right. That's why I don't want to spend so much time on this, because remember, guys, this is just for, is this a deal worthwhile? And let me show you guys something. When you look at what does it mean, it's only a 5% difference if you're wrong, right? It's either going to be 45% or it's going to be 50%. So it's not that much of a difference that you really need to have which one it is at this junction in your stage, right? I want you guys to be able to get to the point where you're moving past this level. This is just the quick, dirty, easy, use your napkin, right? To see if this is something that makes sense to move on to.
Also, if you ask me what's more important, the property class or the city, or the location in the city, I'm always going to say the location in the city. I
Yeah.
can improve on property. I can't change the location. The building doesn't grow legs and walk off and
To a
all of a
better
sudden make
better
it
place.
better.
Yeah.
You know,
So with
I
this
can make that anything.
with this deal here, let's look at the summary. So we got gross potential rent income, it's 420, 480. We see what the income is, the net annual income. So that there you go. You have 194, 472, occupancy rate of 92.5. We're assuming 50% expenses, which would be obviously basically just half of the income. So it's going to be 194, 472 split down the middle. So our evaluation um, is at 3.5, right? And then the value add is about 288,000. Now, I will tell you guys, this is a 40 unit, so it's smaller, but that doesn't mean anything. I would tell you guys, if a property is not giving you at least $1 million in the value add, it may not be worth taking your time to look at it. And here's why I'm saying that. Here's why I say maybe, because it depends on how are you, um, how are your investors, like what are they looking for? So if my investor is looking to invest in my properties and my deals and they're looking for cash flow, then the value add of an extra, 211,000 now that the thing was changed, it's not going to be worth it like that, right? I want at least $1 million in value add, $1 million upside, which is basically just saying if I come in and make changes. Now, this calculation is only based off of improving rents. This is not improving other things. This is just improving rent. But what I'm saying to you is if I can only improve rent by, if this is at a 4.5, I can only improve rent by 300, almost 350, right? Then what are the other things that I'm going to have to try to improve or make or raise value in the property so I can get to $1 million? Now, if this was at like 900,000, I can probably say, well, what's some other things that we can do to get this over $1 million? You want to make sure that you're buying properties, especially if the goal is cash flow for your investors. You want to make sure you're buying properties where there's at least $1 million in that value add section. So for me, I would say this property is not one that I would want to take on. It's not that sexy to me. It's not enough value add in it. And I mean, we don't really know what the asking price is because they didn't tell us. But let's assume the 5,000 just for the sake of this example. Uh, I would be offering much less, right? For 4.3. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't even offer 4.3. I probably offer just 4 mil and just to kind of see if they're interested, right? Like maybe I'll pick this bad boy up on like the back end or something like that. But that's how you essentially learn how to save your time, right? Because you imagine if you didn't do a quick and dirty napkin underwriting. Now, again, this isn't the quickest. There's a wet wipe version of this that will help you guys and help you guys get. But this gives you more than what a regular napkin underwriting, because this is for the individuals who's looking to learn how to be able to master this and then get to the next level, right? Now, well, one last thing. If this was a deal, we would hit that submit form, right there. Valentina asks, always $1 million or more. I would say ours $1 million or more. Now that's our buying strategy. It doesn't have to be that way for you. For us, we're looking at $1 million or more on the value add side. Go ahead.
So, guys, one big thing, and this is why it's not like if you're looking for a rule of thumb, there's no one general rule of thumb that's going to fit the entire country. That's one thing. Because at the end of the day, you have to remember this. I don't know, or I know for a fact actually, so I don't have to say I don't know. I know for a fact, if I'm trying to remodel a one bedroom, one bath in Los Angeles, where I live, down my street, it's gonna cost a lot more than if I'm gonna go remodel a one bedroom, one bath in Ohio. So if you're worried, like if you're thinking about the rehab budget, like what's it gonna be? What do I underwrite it at? What's the value at? Like how do I get to this million, or what's the cap rate? All these questions are the easiest way to answer is learn the market you're in. I can't give you the answer in every city because I don't know it. You know, so that's one thing where if you say, hey, I want to buy in X city, in X market, maybe you choose 2 or 3, okay? You then learn about that market. It's not like single family, you can just comp it and you can figure it out. But even then, single family, rehabbing in LA is going to cost a lot more than it's going to be in Ohio. Even if it's single family, it's all relative. So any questions, I don't want you guys getting too caught up and worried about rehab costs and cap rate, because all of that stuff is very dependent on the market. If it was the same across the board, it would be so much easier for me. I'd buy everything in LA. I'm like, rehab's going to cost me nothing. Wonderful. Relative to the price of the building, right? So don't get too worried about, because the rule of thumb is what is the city? Dallas, Houston, big cities like that, I know the cap rate's gonna be relative to the city. But if I'm looking at like a small city in Ohio or a small city in even outside of Texas, your cap rate's gonna be reflective of that.
Yeah.
And then with the same thing with the building class. So these are all things to keep in mind where like there is no real one rule of thumb when it comes to that stuff. And if you are in a city and you're looking in Columbus, Ohio, you're like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know who to ask or where to look and stuff like that. That's when you start asking people. And if you get stuck, ask us and we can direct you to the right people. Because learning the market you're actually looking to be in is more valuable than just trying to copy and paste from different markets. Yep. And last thing I want to say before we wrap up, because we're about to, is that's why the knowledge and hands-on experience in multifamily, I think, can't be duplicated. I can tell everyone, hey, this is the encyclopedia to multifamily, but you really want to be in if you want to see the numbers run, you want to see the story that creates, you want to see how the brokers and the conversations go, you want to see what the responses are. Like, I've been on some calls and Eddie was there to witness it, where I got punched in the stomach so hard, I was like, oh my God, this guy just kicked my ass. But I learned from it, and it was a great learning experience. Now, next time I'm doing more, like, I'm gonna know what to expect.
Yeah.
And Eddie said that was the best call we've ever had. I'm like, I agree, but God, don't put me through that again. Like, how's it gonna learn? Like, how I can't tell you guys what went on in that call, and like, put your hand on the stove. It's hot. You're gonna learn. That's simplest way I can put it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can tell you the best way to experience it. You know?
So I think we got a question by Jerson. I hope I didn't mess up your name, bro. Did you have a question? I saw you on mute.
Cool.
I just want to make sure I didn't like pass you before we close up. But
yeah, can you hear me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll turn my camera on. My not very bad. I'll try.
Okay, you good. What's up?
Yeah, on the spreadsheet, I think it's A9. With cost and another cost ratio cell, I believe, on the left, on the right column, that is set up 50%. I was just wondering, what's the difference between those two?
Hold on.
Let me see if I can find this.
I didn't hear. I was having trouble hearing you. Did you guys catch that?
No, say it one more time. You're breaking up just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know you said you had a question about the spreadsheet, right?
On the spreadsheet, I think it's cell A9.
Yeah. Yep. What about A9?
Yes. Maybe I will type it just because my internet is not very good.
Okay. Either way, you could type it.
Uh,
So while he's
Sounds good. Thank you.
while he's typing that question in, we'll also make sure to put the email address. So if you guys have something like a question or something like that you want to get to us, or you want to see how you can come on board and help us, like, look, we are just part of the many different communities that are about helping. That's it, right? And obviously, we're looking for properties. We're buying. We'll put our buying criteria in here as well. But we're connected with all of the greats that are doing the same thing that we're doing, is that leading by value. And so if you are looking and willing and want to be able to be part of something like that, just send us an email. If you have a deal and you're like, hey, look, I want to, get with you guys on this deal, fill out this napkin, right? Please use your napkin. Fill the napkin out, hit submit, and we'll get it. And within 24, 48 hours, we will get back to you guys. And when we get back to you, it's a phone call, right? So we can be able to get on Zoom together, and from there we'll be able to show you guys, like, hey, here's here's how you want to go about this. So for those of you who are asking, I'm going to give it to you right now.
One of my things, and trust me, I'm not perfect, so I apologize if I don't do this every time. I try to be as involved in, or get you involved in the underwriting as I can. I don't care if you love it, hate it, don't want to know about it. You're going to have to learn and be able to tell the story and understand why a deal is a deal or not, no matter what part of the machine you are in the multifamily space. So I will try to include as many of you guys when I am underwriting these deals. It gets a little crazy sometimes, so I apologize. And if our times don't match up, it is what it is. But I'm gonna try to include you if you submit a deal onto the napkin of like, hey, this is now what I do with this information, so you're not just oblivious to it. And don't get me wrong, guys, we're gonna do Zooms where I go into the in-depth and go into my personal calculator that I use that is crazy, and I have 3 scenarios, and we do all that mumbo jumbo, and I'll do all that for you guys. Don't get me wrong, but I want you to know why your specific deal also didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then for that, please reach out. I've connected a lot of you guys on here since the last call. I love doing that. I want to know how I can bring value to you guys, and vice versa. I know you guys are gonna work to bring value to us, which I'm excited for. So let us know how we can help, guys. We're a community, we're a team. We have a lot of people here. As you guys have been chatting up all night, we have people involved on the team that are here that want to help. Like, we want to connect. We enjoy this stuff. I'm ready to go dinner. I'm starving, and I know Eddie has a place to be, so I don't want to take up any more time. But thank you guys. Great seeing you all.
So just to reiterate one more time, right? Thank you, Tracy, for peeping the shirt game. You know what I'm saying? But just to reiterate one more time, the schedule is going to change. Now, granted, obviously, Christmas is on Sunday, and then, well, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is pretty much going to be off limits. So we won't do anything then. But this call, which will now be on okay, Jerson, you got the answer. Perfect. So this call is now going to be moved to Tuesdays. So Tuesdays, 8 p.m., we'll be doing this call. And we'll also moving forward, that'll be it, right? The following week is New Year's. So Sunday, Monday, probably going to be difficult to be a call, or difficult to have a call going over numbers where half of you are drunk. So we're not going to do those calls, but we will do it on the 3rd, that Tuesday. And then moving forward, it'll be Sunday night, 7 p.m. It'll be Monday at 2 p.m. These are all Eastern times. And then it'll be Tuesday, 8 p.m. So Sunday, it's Q&A, multifamily, creative, single family. We're going over everything. We're comping deals. We're getting you geared up, mindset ready. Okay. Monday is broker calls, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're going after them. We're building relationships with brokers. That's what we're doing. And then on Tuesday, we're underwriting the deals that we just got from brokers. All right. So in the meantime, if you have something, shoot it over to us. We'll reach out. You know, like I said, it's myself, Nathaniel, Ryan is on here, Jennifer, the amazing Jennifer. We have a bunch of people who a lot of you guys, like a lot of you not. We started from just being in a Zoom together, and we just kept showing up, and now we pulled together a team that have the same goal and same mindset, and we've now started the journey, the road to 100. So we definitely want to be able to continue to do this. With that being said, I have a to go. But I love you all. Glad we hanging up on a great note. Have a great night. And you will find a link. So the link will be in the Discords, but if you're also following me, you'll be able to see. I'll post it. Everybody I mentioned will also post it. And we'll have, like, you know, we'll get real pretty and everything with a Facebook page and stuff like that, emails, so that it's easier for you guys to be able to keep up to date. We just really, really wanted to start and giving feedback ASAP, right? Instead of waiting to kind of have all that done. So that being said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, because I really wasn't supposed to give this spreadsheet out again, but I did. When you grab it, make yourself a copy so that you can use it, all right? And we'll let you do anything else, but definitely make yourself a copy. Do not be hitting me up talking about some, well, I lost the formulas, because I don't have a formula tracker. I won't be able, maybe Ed, do you have a formula? I don't know. We'll talk about it later. Peace, everybody. Stay charged up. Have a great one. Love you all.